Good afternoon, my cracker tugas. I'm MBT, and this is 20 Spirit Testing. As we transition from the list of good decks to terrible crap that did okay in a webcam event, my mouth has been watering at the prospect of showing off a strategy that I've been enamored with for the last couple of weeks. Presenting Change Position.
Change has come to America.
So here's the list ripped from an app event. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course the card by card. But first, if you've been compelled to casting by my videos, I have great news for me! I've got an affiliate code for the Elestrals shop, so if you intend to pick up cardboard or plushies, please use that code and get me some cash. With that, let's check out Change Position. In case you're unfamiliar, one of the staples of the sideboard for a good while now has been Veritaqua, a mystical swordsman level 2 that destroys monsters pre-battle step if they're in defense position, but in Daybreak we received the wind variant, Verituka, which does the same for attack position Elestrals, provided they have an equal number of spirits attached. These cards are good, but niche. After all, you can't guarantee your opponent's Elestrals are going to be in the right position. Or can you? With the release of Eddie, plus base set staples Sorlet and Tsunami, you actually do have 9 ways to force an opponent's Elestral into the right position. Ideally, there's no winning for them, since you'll never even have to compare the numbers on your Elestrals at all. With that, let's get into the card by card. First up, we've got our individual Elestrals playing 3 copies of Eddie, 3 copies of Astrabbit, 3 copies of Boombat. The deck actually does need some hard Elestral removal. 3 Sorlet, 3 Verituka, and 3 Veritaqua. After that, we've got our non-critters. We've got an Earthquake, 3 Tsunami, 1 Trident of Poseidon, and 1 Poseidon. Trident of Poseidon is because counter runes do tend to eat this deck alive. Gorgons is really bad, and Poseidon gets you some really funny plays along with your 3 copies of Boombat. Next up, we've got 3 copies of Ambrosia, 3 copies of Nectar of the Gods, 1 copy of Resting on Your Laurels, 3 Gorgon's Gaze, 3 PTA, and 3 Shield of Achilles. The boy math here is really easy. Just 9 copies of Leviathan, 4 Zaptor, 5 Lycoris, and 2 Teratlus. So with that, let's check out a game. Our match is up against Thunder Nexus. Probably. You'll see at the very end that Law's on some very funny cards, but this is part of an ongoing thesis that the 30-card Thunder Shell can be played in pretty much anything, and Law is going to put that to the test right here. Our grip looks fantastic. We are just going to go ahead and grab some defense for our Astrabbit, then we're going to set a Gorgon's Gaze and a Tsunami before passing back to Law. Law's going to develop an Eddie. That's a really good card for dealing with Astrabbit, but not so into a Tsunami. Kind of unintuitive that Tsunami outs this water-enchanted Elestral, but turns the Astrabbit to defense, and 5 is bigger than 4. We realized we forgot to shuffle, so we're going to do that and then cast this Verituka. That's going to trade nicely for the Edward, so we'll get in with the Astrabbit as well. I'm just allergic this format to playing around Arcolith, and unfortunately for me, our opponent does have the Arcolith. So that's just the way it goes. They're going to attempt to activate the effect of the Arcolith and put 3 on there. I really like holding Gorgons until combat, just so you can theoretically use the Gorgons in order to get like a weird attack through. Unfortunately, I think probably better to Gorgons the Arcolith on summon because you don't want to give them the free spirits to cast off of. My plan here is to use the Verituka re-enchanted in order to contest the Arcolith, but then we draw an Earthquake, so I say, okay, I'll just draw another card off the Astrabbit and get in for 3, and very happy that we are able to do so. We'll pass back to our opponent here. We don't actually have a very good defense for the Astrabbit. If they summon anything with more than 4, it's going to be a problem. They're thinking here, Jolton is going to be the pick. This is kind of a weird position because the Astrabbit is really big under Mount Olympus, but not as big as the Jolton. They're going to grab the Mount Olympus, and I know what's coming next. Mount Olympus comes down, and what comes down immediately afterwards? Yep, it's going to be Race to the Top, and this unfortunately clears the entire field. Elected not to fire that PTA because I figured my board would contest the Jolton, but they're actually going to take no chances here, not going to run into a shield or anything. Just going to EQ the Rabbit and try and play Jolton Beats. It is a 5. We're going to go Edward here and switch that Jolton to defense position, but it's going to be met with a Gorgon's Gaze, and now we have a big problem. We really don't have a convincing out for the Jolton. We'll pass back to Law. Law's down to 4, but suddenly is back up to 6. Quackle coming down, becoming a mainstay in this Thunder Nexus deck. I love Quackle's new rate of playability as games become determined by the strength of the Spirit deck. We're at 9 to their 6. Still pretty high, and that Verituka is just what the Doctor ordered. Now, we could theoretically run into a Gorgon's here and just lose on the spot, but thankfully we don't. We are going to get a little greedy. I think we're playing from behind and have to do so accordingly, so we'll just go ahead and get rid of that Jolton. Law's going to go for Ambro all the way back up to 7, I believe, or 8, putting 3 of them back, and now we are tied in Spirit deck. Really scary stuff. Next Law is just going to go ahead and, I mean, really in the tank on this one, expending to draw feels bad late in the game, but sometimes you do have to do it, and our list is pretty threat light. He is going to go for the Race to the Top beforehand in order to get that Verituka off the field and then just get in, electing not to expend for draw, expecting it'll come down to sort of the end of the game. We go for Veritaqua here, but we misenchant it with an Zaptor so that it can get over the Quackle because of the Mount Olympus. And oh no, here comes a Jolton. I am not going to fall for the same trick twice, so we are going to activate the poison-tipped arrow here, and unfortunately, we are going to take a billion damage. This is going to be 2 off the Quackle and the Jolton, and then 1 additional off the PTA, putting us down to 2. But little does Law know, we of course do have the Veritaqua. We are going to go for it now. Once again, misenchanted with Thunder, then we're going to Ambro using the Leviathan, and putting back a couple of spirits back into our deck, one of which is a Zaptor, because I think we might have to use the way that Mount Olympus works once again. Law's down to 4 here, going to develop an Edward, also misenchanted. We are just taking advantage of this Mount Olympus here. We are going to draw for turn. It's a shield. We can do a really funny thing here, I'm very happy to report. We are just going to go ahead and cast this Boombat, and then we can use the Poseidon to Nexus to the Boombat so it survives after disenchanting. Just have to get the right spirits on it here. And then we do get to get in for 1, putting Law on 2, and we just have to hope he doesn't have a guy, I think. We don't have really any win past that. Doesn't expend a draw, hopes that we don't have a guy, and unfortunately for him, we do. Out comes Edward. We have done it. We have won the game. You know what? Actually, let's just re-enchant to get in for enough. And that is going to do it. Let's see if Law shows off what he's playing. There it is. So we're back with the deck, and it's funny as hell. Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1, wow, Verituka gets a lot better after they limit Earthquake and Laurels. Previously, this thing was kind of a removal magnet, but now there's just not enough removal. 2, you're kind of 5s. With the exception of the Tukas, everything here would be right at home in a better strategy, and you're going to win some games just on the back of card quality. And 3, this is one of the few Elestrals decks that really gives you the feeling of kneeling with an opponent, something that's integral to the game's success. And the cons. 1, it's kind of like bad 5s. There's a lot of times when you're just going to be developing a Veritaqua into an empty board and hoping back row carries. 2, you've got a real problem with Gorgon's Gaze. Admittedly, there's so much in here that demands it that it might not matter, but between the Veras and Boombat, a lot can go wrong. And 3, sometimes they're in the wrong position. All in all, this deck is going to be meta once they release Veriterra, which can destroy any monster anytime for any reason. Bye!